All
All
right.
right, all right.
Well,
Let me
hello.
pull up. All right, all right. So, welcome to Touchdown Times, where the thrill of the football comes to the life. Buckle up as we embark on a gridiron journey, celebrating the heart-pounding moments, unforgettable victories, and the untamed passion that fuels the game. From hard-hitting interviews with players and coaches to expert analysis on team dynamics, we got your end zone covered. So whether you're a diehard football fan or just dipping your toes into football frenzy and fantasy, join us every week to the adrenaline-filled podcast experience. Get ready for touchdown times with Alo 27 and Savvy
Let's
Sav.
go. Let's go. Andrew, I am so excited to be on this podcast with you, man. I don't know about you, but this time around this year, around August, I am just stoked. Football season, definitely my favorite sport out there ever since I was a little kid. And there's just nothing like it, man. There's just nothing like it, whether it comes to betting, getting ready for fantasy football, spending all day on Sundays watching your games. It's it's just my happy place. So this
Uh,
definitely, definitely
100%
looking
agree with
forward
you,
to
man.
it.
There's nothing like football season. It really just has everything, and I just love the game so much. Podcast here, so we're gonna get right into it. The first and foremost thing, I think we're just gonna really talk to each other, and really talk about the first week of football. What games did you see? What did you expect out there? Where you think they're at right now? What's on your mind the first week, first preseason of football, Eli?
Well, for me, didn't get a whole lot of time to watch a good amount of the games, but I did get a chance to watch most of the Jets and Browns game, as well as the Eagles and Ravens. So, first of all, for the Jets and Browns, I think they're already going to have a really interesting year, specifically for the Jets.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I
as
agree.
everyone knows, you got Aaron Rodgers there. You got all the big stars right now that they've been pulling in, and then on top of that, just the news that broke, we get Dalvin Cook. So that for them to have that, it's definitely going to be an interesting time. Um, and overall, from what I saw, they had Zach Wilson back out there. He was slinging it around. Didn't really see much too on Cleveland's side that I was really interested in. It was mostly Zach Wilson I was looking out for because I always saw a lot in that guy, especially through college and then coming up.
He
I
had
thought
a
maybe he'd have a shot with
he,
them, but
He played. He's still young, sitting behind Aaron Rodgers. He can definitely learn a thing or two. You know what I mean? On top of that, he did perform pretty good. He's got a long touchdown down the side of the field on that one play that I thought was great. Going back to the Jets, I'm gonna give my opinion. I think they have a real shot. I really do. Like you said, they got all the weapons. Garrett Wilson, Dalvin Cook now, Brees Hall. I wonder who's really gonna take the starting spot there. You know what I mean? Is it gonna be more of a 1-2 punch? And then obviously Aaron Rodgers. And he's fallen low in the draft rankings right now for the amount of weapons he has. But that's just something we can get on later. But yeah, how was the Eagles in that game? How did the Eagles do in their first preseason?
sadly, they did lose by one, but who counts these preseason scores anyway? Overall, though, I think the Eagles they showed some promise. They definitely had a lot of the young guys out there. Looking through it, Marcus Mariota was their starter for that game.
Hmm.
I think he showed some promise there, and it's nice to see him on the field and doing what he can. I don't think he'll ever be a starter again, but I always love having a nice, solid backup running back like him who can run the ball if he needs to, still make a couple good plays. Don't know if he can win it for you in the fourth quarter, but he's serviceable as a backup. Uh, Basically, that's kind of the gist from what I got. Other than that, we had a couple of rookie backs running up there running it. Didn't get to see anyone big, but we did see DeAndre Swift have a couple good runs, which is nice to
Hmm.
see him on that team now.
Exactly. I
Um,
would agree.
yeah, so
Yeah,
just pull out what they can.
yeah, definitely. I mean, the Eagles are going to be one of those teams where we look to all season as they made the championship last year. Didn't quite cut it, but they got there, and that's a huge accomplishment in itself. But yeah, I'm excited for DeAndre Swift. He's gonna be a new back in that backfield, and they have a great line and just great all around team. So it's definitely interesting. And like you said, having Mariota back there, he definitely fits perfect into that offense. We're gonna move on to the Niners and the Raiders game. I watched that game, and the biggest takeaway I saw in that game was Trey Lance is not ready. He is just not ready to take on the full team of the 49ers. He has weapons all around him, but for them to invest highly and over a draft pick and not have him pan out for the last 3 years, I know he had an injury, but it's tough. He just did not have command of that offense. And that's the biggest takeaway I would say for him. His scores look great. He threw a touchdown, but it should have been a pick in the end zone for the Raiders. The other thing was the main takeaway for me is the Raiders defense was just on Trey Lance all game long. Their defense was just getting in there, and they got a couple of young guys that they sat on, that they're putting on the line, and just in the defense for the Raiders, and they're really getting to the quarterback. So that's good news for the Raiders. I don't know how they're going to do without Derek Carr, but
Would you say that was a Trey Lance issue, or would you say it was just maybe a younger line that they had out there? That
I
was.
think more than anything, it was probably going to be a Trey Lance issue. He just held on to it. Even Sam Darnold, the backup, the third string, for 49ers, he was just more confident, and just in the decision making was so much quicker in the pocket. I think they expected Trey Lance to have a little bit more mobile to him, and he's just not that guy. He's definitely not a Lamar or a Kyler Murray out there running the ball. So yeah, I mean those are definitely the games that we saw from week one. Should we move on to fantasy, start them and sit them, coach's corner?
I think that's all we got now for preseason. I mean, we're gonna have a couple more weeks of it, so we can always go over if we see anything come up.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess we're gonna get started with fantasy start and sit 'em. Fantasy coaches corner is ultimately what we're calling the segment. So we'll get right into it. I guess fantasy hasn't happened yet, but let's go over a couple things, right? Let's try to break down the top, let's say top 5 picks on this podcast, and as we go on, we'll just kind of do the next 5 and the next 5 and the next 5, and kind of get you that the top 10 or 20 that we would choose from fantasy. So I guess who's number one in your book, Eli? Tell me, who you taking, a running back this year, a wide receiver? Who's number one overall for Mr. Savvy Sav here?
For me, I'm gonna have to roll with Justin Jefferson. I had him on my team last year. That man put up numbers. He did what he had to do. He was a PPR machine, and he's the number one guy on that team. I don't know what it is about him, but that man can catch. That man can make plays. He definitely can get down the field even after the catch. So he's got a lot of promise again. He's a young guy, and I think they're going to still utilize him heavily this year. So that's going to be my go-to for number one.
I would agree. I would agree with you at number one as far as Jetta, JJ, Justin Jefferson. He is the number one guy on my list as well. We'll move on to number two. Number two is a little bit hard for me. I'll go with my number two. You can pick your number two if you'd like. But we'll debate on it, I guess. I don't know. Most of the drafts I've been doing for mock draft came with CMC coming number two or Jamar Chase. I really like Jamar Chase. I think it's a wide receiver. It's a wide receiver. They're just Joey B and Jamar Chase. They're going to have that connection. We saw it last year. We saw them make it real far in the playoffs. I think number two, Jamar Chase is the guy for me. I can see how CMC might be a contender, but with the Niners having, all these weapons, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle in the red zone, I think Jamar Chase takes it for me, man.
Do you have any concerns with Joey B and his injuries? Do you think
Yeah,
that might affect Jamar Chase's season? Because that's what happened last year for some of it. Jamar Chase even had some issues too. So I'm wondering if they need both of those guys to be on it, or else you risk having a couple of weeks where you're getting very little production.
I understand. I get that. Yeah. I don't know. I think both of them have fought through the injuries in the past. They're a playoff team the past 2-3 years. They're going toe to toe with Kansas City every time they do battle, and I think Cincinnati's up on that back and forth with them by one. But yeah, I think having Joey B as your quarterback and Jamar Chase is just the duo. They're top people at their respective positions. You know what I mean? And that does a ton for you, right? So I'm gonna go with Jamar Chase. Do you have someone else, or are you thinking Jamar Chase is the man?
I'll give it to Jamar Chase. I think I prefer him over McCaffrey just because I'm not 100% sure how San Francisco is going to want to utilize McCaffrey. He wasn't utilized like he was before. He's had some good games where he goes off, but I would safely put Christian McCaffrey at number three. Probably have Chase too as well. So far, we're pretty similar. We got Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and McCaffrey. Would you say so?
I would say so. Yeah, McCaffrey. I think I just prefer Jamar Chase over him just because of the connection that Joey B and him have. But CMC is still a hell of an athlete, right? He's dominating that backfield, yards after contact into a touchdown easily. Very elusive guy coming out of Stanford. So yeah, we'll move on to number four. I guess I went first last time. I'll put number four in your balls court, and you tell me who you got at number four. I know Kelsey's maybe cracking that top 5. I know Austin Eckler might be there. Who do you got? Tyreek Hill. Who do you think is going to be the next number 4th on the list here?
Just based off of production alone and the amount of touches he can get with that team, I'm going to say Eckler. It's going to have to be my number 4. Kelsey's a very safe bet there too. He's definitely climbed up as he's basically a receiver and a tight end put together. But I think Eckler having a solid running back like him, when to me, running backs can be hard to come by as you start going down the draft. You want to be safe there and pick up a nice PPR back. So Eckler's probably going to be my go-to for that one.
Yeah, I would agree as well. Having CMC and Austin Eckler going back to back and especially in a PPR league, we're essentially scoring when it comes to the red zone, right? I would go there. I would definitely go there. And then for 5, where do you think what do you think's going on at 5? I would honestly take Kelsey at 5, man.
Yeah, you know what? You have me right there, Andrew. I was gonna say the talent level after that, Kelsey, I think beats them all. Like it's such a big drop after that when it comes to the amount of targets he can get, and just the
red zone production.
Target. Exactly.
Yeah, he's a red zone target. On top of that, him and Patrick Mahomes just have a connection, right? They're the next QB tight end duo that are really gonna take this league by storm, right? We saw it in Brady and Gronk. We saw it in Aaron Hernandez and Brady. It's just one of those things that tight ends are reliable. They're the big guy on the field and go up and get the ball in the red zone. 100%. So that's going to be the top 5 right there for fantasy right now. We'll obviously break down the next 5 as we get on each episode, but that'll give you some insight. We're going to move on to the next segment here. This is one of Eli's favorite segments here. We're going to get into the betting segment, odds and ends. So I'm going to let Eli take over this segment and come out and I guess talk to the people about some of the bets coming up in week 2 or who we're looking to watch.
Okay,
for lines
for preseason, I'm not super confident with the lines I can give you on here, but I do have some fun futures we could work with. So
let's do that.
Let me give you a little backstory between me, Andrew, and then our 2 buddies, Tristan and Michael. A couple years ago, we saw Mr. OBJ go over and join the Rams. We decided to put a flyer bet down in the future for them to win the Super Bowl. Guess what they did that year? They won the Super Bowl. So just to say, we have a little bit of say in what we think might happen. But seeing as the news just broke with Dalvin Cook signing, I'm going to say it could be a fun bet to throw a little money down on the Jets. I think the Jets, they're in a tough division. They're going up with the Bills, and they're going up with the Dolphins. Mm-hmm. I think they can beat the Dolphins. The Bills are the biggest test, but I've seen the Bills crumble under pressure. So I think with Aaron Rodgers, leading the charge, they have a great shot with that leadership there. And I think they might be able to pull through. Even if they get a wild card, they could be a wild card team taking it to the Super Bowl. So I'm just going to say
it's happened in the past. It's definitely happened in the past. And Jets, I agree with you. You know what I mean? I think Aaron Rodgers leading the charge. I think they can really get past the Dolphins. On top of that, Josh Allen just hasn't been clutch in the playoffs, and if he doesn't get past the playoffs this year, it's just not going to be good for him, right? He's going to be known as the Kirk Cousins of his era. So we'll see what happens. Definitely a good dark bet to take. I would take that bet and just see where it goes. Throw some money on it. It's early in the season. You can make your money back elsewhere.
and on top, just to keep going with that, I'm going to be a homer. I'm going to also put my money on the Eagles as a future. I had it last year. I was this close, couldn't get it. But I still think in the NFC, them and the 49ers are the clear top 2. And I think the Eagles have beaten them before. And I think they have a tough schedule. But with that, they might, be well battle tested by the time they get there and hopefully make the Super Bowl again. If that's the case, it's anyone's game. And I think that they can take it. So as your safer bet, if you don't want to go with the Chiefs, like everyone usually does, take the Eagles. See if they can make it back there, not have the Super Bowl hangover. I still love the team. I'm not just being a homer. I've been through the tough times. So I'm telling you right now, they still have a solid team, and I still think they can make it back and win it. So those are my 2 fun futures that I got.
I would agree. I would 100% agree that they definitely have the potential to make it back to a Super Bowl. It's a long journey ahead, so we'll definitely see. They definitely have a great team, and it'll be interesting to see how they play out this season for sure. Awesome. Awesome. Well, that gives us two bets there to kind of look towards the future. Any other bets that we should that you want to talk about while we have the audience?
You know what? Just for funsies between me and you, Andrew, let's make a bet on the preseason game that we will be attending this upcoming weekend. So Andrew and I and a couple of our buddies will be going over to see the Chargers and the Saints play each other. Just a fun little time just to have a little fun and check out some football. But with that, we should have a little fun with it. Put a little money down or pizza bet, whatever you want to do. But we should bet on the spread. That's my idea for this. Looking at the spread right now on my bookie, I have the New Orleans Saints at -3, Chargers +3.
So they're saying that the Saints are going to win that game, right?
They are saying the Saints are the favorites in that.
Yeah, I would agree with that as far as seeing the Saints play. They had a solid team in last week when they played. Jameson Winston played really well for being the backup there on that league. Derek Carr went in, marched down the field, easily scored. You got the running backs. Alvin Kamara's still playing, and then they just got who's the other running back, the anime guy, Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams, yeah.
Jamal Williams. They got Jamal Williams back there. So I mean, I think they're a good team. I just haven't seen the Chargers play in the preseason, man. I really haven't. What are your thoughts on them?
I don't have any thoughts, man. for me,
now that he's trying to bet,
hey, you know what? I'll take home team. I'll go Chargers if you want Saints. If you have all this inside knowledge right now in their preseason.
No, honestly, I think the Chargers. Who's their backup? Who's their backup quarterback?
Their backup quarterback.
Let's just make it easy. I'll take the Saints. I'll take the Saints.
All right. Saints it is. So -3. So if it's a 3-point game, we're even. But we'll go by 3. So take the spread on that. I will take the Chargers on that. What do we want to bet?
All right, sounds good. We'll bet. You want to bet? You want to bet a beer? You want to bet pizza? What are we looking at here?
Let's do a pizza bet. A medium Domino's pizza, sometime next week. All right.
Deal.
All right. Let's
Deal.
go.
All right. So we got our bet right here going. So be sure to tune in next week to see who wins that bet.
And guys, we will probably be doing this almost every week. I'm going to make sure Andrew is either getting me pizzas every week or getting me beer. We'll see.
He thinks. We'll see how this first one goes, but this might be a little rivalry we have. Who knows? We might be able to turn it on the interview next time.
Honestly, I'm down to bet on some of these fantasy games matchups too.
Yeah.
On that.
We're definitely gonna have some. We're gonna be introducing some rivalry games to our fantasy this year, more than likely. So we'll be on the lookout for that. We're gonna be talking rules a little bit later as well. But let's get into the next topic here. What do we have next? Up trivia question of the week. Do you have a trivia question, Mr. Savvy Sav? Point of it is we are going to have a trivia question of the week. It's going to be called Touchdown Trivia, and we're going to be asking the audience, the wider audience, a question, and you guys can text us and submit some answers, and we'll be announcing the winner week to week there. But we're going to have a touchdown trivia question. Other than that, I would say that's pretty much what we have for this first run through. We're really just trying to get our feet wet here and really get some engagement and some audience on here. I know a lot of our listeners are going to be from the fantasy league. Stay tuned. We are announcing some rule changes. You know what? Why don't we do a little bit segment on that? Why don't we talk through some of the rule changes that we're proposing, and you guys can let us know what your guys' thoughts are on that. Let me bring up the document that has those rules changes so we can kind of talk through those.
So while Andrew brings that up, I'd just like to say the fantasy group that we're talking about is obviously our Degenerates League that we do, the Degenerate Gentlemen. It's basically what we've been doing for maybe 4 or 5 years now. We've been playing pretty much the same group of guys. Some people have come in and out, but we've done normally just a standard league redraft every year. Had a couple of pretty crazy end of the season matchups that we've had. I personally have gotten second place 2 times. It's been kind of rough. I've been on the struggle bus there, but doing what I can. So I'm gonna get you.
No, you played well every single season, man. You've always finished top 3 or 4. I want to say it's been a good season. I will say I have won. I do have a ring. I won last year. I'm pretty proud of that. And we got Tristan that won the first round, and then Michael won the second year. And then So some of these league changes. So the Degenerate Gentlemen's League changes up for discussion are going to be we'll go one by one. Proposed two people on IR. What do you think of that one? Two people on IR instead of one this year.
I'm not opposed to that. I mean, with the amount of injuries you can have sometimes, COVID isn't really a big issue anymore, so
Mhm.
I don't think we're going to see that too often. But I think it does help to definitely take off those starters you may have, or anyone that's really hurt, because it does happen. You're going to have a couple players.
Yeah.
You're going to have that issue. I'm
Yeah,
okay with that.
I personally like that IR one. It really depends on if we go that one or another player just to your bench. Either one, I would pick one or the other though. I wouldn't have both. The second one is we're proposing a free agent bidding, fab. So this is where you're gonna have money. We're talking about maybe 150 points to spend on these free agents week to week. How you want to spend them is your way. If you think you want to drop 80 in the first 2 weeks, go for it. You might pan out and be the deal maker for your whole season. If you want to save it to the end and snag someone for a high value at the end, that's the way that you want to do it. But we're gonna have free agent bidding. What do you think of the proposed free agent bidding, Eli?
I personally really enjoy it. I've used it in one league for the past 3 years, and then another league I'm in, we started it last year. Overall, I think there's more engagement when it comes to picking up players. It's a lot more. There's a lot of risk analysis you have to make with being willing to risk maybe 50% of your fab budget if there's a
Mm-hmm.
huge guy that's been, or a huge rookie maybe who's been outperforming everyone else, and you really need that running back or wide receiver. You drop a lot of your money. That's the risk you take, and I think it's more fair than it's based off of the standings or anything like that, just because it kind of lets anyone go in there and try to get it. So it's what you're
Yeah,
willing to risk.
it's
But then
it's
again, I'm
definitely.
I'm a gambler, so that's just what I like. I enjoy that factor of it, so it's cool.
Yeah, no, I definitely think it allows everybody to come to the table a little bit more fair about some of these free agents and really just put their say in, right? Literally put a number to a value and see what comes out. Um, Gotcha. Yeah, I'm on board for that as well. Obviously, we're gonna get the wider audience here opinion about this too. What do you think of adding additional flex player to the starting lineup? Maybe you have another room for another running back, or possibly you draft two tight ends pretty early, and you have two tight ends. I don't know, man. What do you think of having just another flex player that's added to the lineup here?
So I think the addition of a flex player, especially in right now we have a 10-man league, um, it would give more incentive to continue picking up players through free agency, which goes hand in hand with Fab. And you'll definitely be fighting for more players like that you can fit
Mm-hmm.
into that last flex spot. So I think overall it'll add more engagement in the league. It'll definitely keep you more on your toes with who you want to pick, and definitely bye weeks are going to be very interesting with that because you need to fill that spot. More guys are going to be
Exactly.
out, and I think that'll go hand in hand with that.
I think it makes the competition so much. You got to know depth within teams, right? You got to know handcuffs. You got to know people that if someone goes down, they're going to be that person going to be slide right into their role and fill it perfectly on a consistent level. So that's kind of my thoughts to it. I do think it makes buys really hard. I think it makes I think you just got to know the depth. I personally don't want this rule changed. I don't want it to add another flex. I think we should institute the IR or just add another person to the bench first and then maybe think about it next year and kind of table that conversation. But again, we're getting opinions here, and no one's right, no one's wrong. It's a league for a reason and we're getting everyone involved. We're gonna move on to the next one. We're gonna put take off kickers. What do you think of that? Kickers have always been a fundamental part of the game. But everybody always drafts them so low. So I mean, what are your thoughts on taking these kickers off? You for that? You against it? What are your thoughts?
I think the only reason I'm for it is because sometimes it can come down to that last kicker you have playing. Um, I know it can seem kind of pointless, but if you draft the right kicker, draft the right guy, it's almost to me like defense. You don't know how they're going to perform, but hey, they could have a huge game and save your ass that week, right? That's going to be like your defense.
100%. They're
So
known for kicking these game winners, man. I think if you get 3 points and you're within that 3 point spread, that's a game changer. That is literally a game changer. So I'm for the kickers. I don't want to take them off. It's just something on the list that we've kind of talked about and have mentioned previously. These next two are really going to depend on who we get for our final person for our degenerate leagues. We're talking Dynasty League and Keeper League. Obviously, we'll talk who that mystery person is. We'll announce that to the league. We won't do that on air though. And then we're talking dynasty and keeper league. What are your thoughts on the dynasty and keeper league? It's something we've talked about for a while. If we find that right person, I think it's something that we can really pull off.
I'm okay with Dynasty. I'm personally not super familiar with the process, but I think it would be fun if we. It's like, are we gonna restart the league now, knowing we're Dynasty? Because I know we talked about it last season, and that's what something we wanted to do. But if we're losing someone, is it fair to let keep? We need a solidified group now, so that we know going into next year, hey, this draft is huge because this is the first draft before we start, keeping these players on and on.
That's exactly what we're doing, man. That's
Okay.
exactly what we're doing. We are trying to nail down this last player. It's gonna turn into a dynasty, and then keeper league rules will be enacted next year. That's exactly what we are trying to do. And it's really gonna be dependent on that last guy that we're finding. We're trying to find the right guy. So we've got some candidates. We're gonna talk in.
Exactly.
All right. So we're moving into tiebreakers. This one, a little bit of crazy scenarios happened in the past couple of years for fantasy. We're looking at tiebreakers, and this is going to be tiebreakers on points, how you're going to break that tie, and then also tiebreakers or injury happens like the DeMar Hamlin. We got to come up with another rule for that. As sad as it was to see, it definitely affected our league. Josh Allen couldn't play the rest of the game, and some games were won and lost that way. So it's we definitely got to come up with some ways to kind of bypass that or get around it. I guess first and foremost, doesn't happen often, but a tiebreaker. How we settle in tiebreakers this year, Eli?
I mean, I'm okay with pushing it down to whoever your bench players are. If you have a solid bench and they can come in and help you out, then I think that can settle the tie. It doesn't happen super often, so I
Yeah.
don't see why you can't.
Yeah. Are we talking full bench, like full team bench, their points against the other teams, or are we talking highest player on each bench?
I would
What are
say
we
highest player, because full team, you may not have a full bench. Sometimes at
exactly?
times you take people off, so I think it'd be more fair to have
I
that.
agree.
The highest
I
player.
agree 100%. Yeah, sounds like that's the highest bench player will be the deciding factor in that regard. Last thing we got, let's see, um, rivalry week. So what I've done is I've actually put the division set by who really interacts with who most, right? You know what I mean? Who really talks to who most. Those are going to be some rivalry games that we have going on each week. We will have a rival, someone that goes head to head with someone in the league, and they're going to put something on the line, whether it be their pride, some money, a dare, a bet of some kind. They're going to put something on the line between them, and we're going to see who wins. We're going to play some side bets, and we'll have some fun with it. But we'll be having some rivalry games this year, and it should be a lot of fun. Way to get people involved and really hype up that engagement on some of these games and keep it interesting in the league. So it's definitely something we're looking forward to. And we'll provide some more details on that.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
I love it. I love the rivalry. I love the camaraderie you have with it, just going head to head and knowing that, looking forward to that match. Really get you going for that week. Now, Andrew, I want to know, who's your rival?
Ooh, yeah, it's gonna come down to scheduling, right? I'm trying to get everybody who they want to kind of be their rival and play that game. You know what would make it interesting, Eli? And it may make us interesting is if we were rivals. I think
Okay,
that would make
okay.
it interesting. I
I
think
think
it
that would be
really would.
interesting.
Just because we're going to be, the wider facing to the audience, and we're going to have a lot of our own opinions throughout this podcast, and that would be an interesting. If not, I'm sure we'll play, and that'll be its own. It'll be its own
That'll be a
game.
special week, no matter what. Whether or not we
Exactly.
advise on that, I think that'll be fun.
Exactly. Otherwise, there's tons of great people in our league that could be a rival. So we'll just have to see how that turns out.
We've given a lot to the people right now. I think we could kind of hold off if you want to.
Yeah. I would definitely agree. Well, this we're just gonna recap some of the stuff that we went over and kind of talk through. Obviously, introducing ourselves and who we are. We're A Lopez 27 and Savvy Sav here. We're gonna be doing touchdown times weekly. Probably Aaron Wednesday, maybe Thursday. We're going to be interviewing some people along the way. Have some guests on here to really talk through some of the football matchups and fantasy points. We're going to be interviewing some people along the way. Eli, I guess we'll talk about some clashes, some primetime games, Thursday night games, Sunday night games. Really talk through the matchups. Maybe pick some winners on each week to week. We'll each go in on pick who we think is going to win and get some background information on it. We'll talk some fantasy, right? Fantasy is a huge topic for this podcast right now, and we'll talk fantasy, stardom, situms, top 5, counting down, best players, situational game time decisions, injuries, who to plug in there, those things. It's going to be fantasy coach's corner. Eli's going to take it away with betting segments, odds, and ends. He's going to talk through some of the betting lines, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You want to tell them a little bit more about that segment, Eli?
I mean, me, when it comes to betting and gambling, what I personally do is every season I fill up my account, have a specified amount, and I pretty much bet on every game. I throw my money down where I need to. So I keep track of it. I like to see where I'm at. And I have a good time with it. Usually
Yeah.
I come out either break even or I make a little bit. So I'm hoping this year I try to be smart with the money. I play consistent. I don't chase any bets, and I don't go too crazy with parlays. I know Underdog is definitely going to get me that freaking app, but or is the Underdog the one, right? Yeah, that one always gets me too. So
Underdog's a good one. Yeah,
we'll see how that one goes. But overall, I will just be sharing my favorite bets of the week. Maybe throw in a fun parlay, easy 2-3 team maybe parlay, but we'll be able to work with that. So I think we'll have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, and then each week we will also have the trivia question of the week, the touchdown trivia, to really get the people involved. Don't forget to submit your answers. We'll have some trivia on here. We'll probably do two questions each week. Give you guys a chance to answer and really just have fun with it, right? We're doing this for us. We're doing this for our league, but we're really just trying to have a good time. And if we build an audience and you guys want to follow along, great. Yeah, tune in to Touchdown Times with ALO 27 and Savvy Sav, and catch us next week.
All right. See you guys.